design as used for Formula One. So another element where industry, or certainly the defence industry, is trying to pick up tips from other areas of the automotive industry.
Right, well, we've now got, with a bit of a delay, but he's got started now. We've got Chieftain on the arena. Chieftain was first of the two main battles, followed from Jordan, but it had a number of new innovations. First one was the driver, who's on a sort of sunlight, the size of the gun to 120mm, and in doing so, because it's such a big gun, they come up with the idea of firing a projectile and having a shell case that was disposable. In other words, it's self-consuming. When you fired the gun, the shell case went in with it, blew up completely and was obliterated. That's what the other problem with them is the engine. They were powered by a Leyland L60. It's a 12-piston, 12-cylinder, I should say, vertical opposed engine. It was what they called multi-fuel. It was supposed to run on anything from petrol to peanut butter, but they were basically used as diesel. And for a long time it was the Achilles heel of Chieftain. And they were always breaking down. They're not so bad now. But it means it's a very unusual tank, a very important tank.
Chieftain, another one of those tanks, it was still the generation mainly of steel armour, so very, very thick steel on the front. Tremendously well-angled glacé plate, as they call it, that front bit by the driver. But later in its service life, as the Soviet tanks and anti-tank weaponry got bigger, more armour was added. So if you look on the front of this particular Chieftain, which is a late model, it's got what they called still brew armour added either side of the main gun, almost like cheek pieces. And still brew was at the time a secret armour, a laminate armour area, and that was put on the tank to give it that little bit of extra protection. Now, coming on behind the Chieftain that's on the bow now, this is Challenger 1, and this was the first British tank that had got the new secret armour inside the vehicle. There's a laminate armour that we call chopper armour. And this was something that was designed and choppered just off the A3 back in the 60s by a British team. There's a laminate that included ceramics. The proper formulation for chopper armour is still kept as top secret, but it's a layering system, and it has, for its weight and its size, a much better stopping potential than just straightforward steel. And they fitted it for the first time on a British tank, on a British production tank, a Challenger 1. And it's one of the reasons why tanks look, modern tanks, like they do, with this rather flat, faceted surfaces, because you can't actually bend chopper armour. It's an armour that needs to be put together in flat packs, so when you look at our Challenger 1 driving around, you're actually looking at a skin on the outside. That's a metal skin, and underneath that skin, that's where the secret chopper armour. The idea is that having used it, you can jettison the drums and go into action. And that's why they're there. And it's powered by a Perkins diesel. In fact, the original scheme was not to have Challenger 1 at all. We were going into a rather fancy tank with MBT-80. But Challenger 1 was available because the
they were being sold to Iran, and the Iranians reneged on the deal when the Shah was deposed, and we got the tank, so we had to have them, we had no choice. But in the first Gulf War, they were very effective, and that seems to have a super record from the first Gulf War.
Just on another topic, could Mr. Arthur Ball go to the shop in the main museum foyer, please? That's Mr. Arthur Ball. Could he go to the shop in the main museum foyer? Now, our Challenger that's just driven off actually saw operations in the first Gulf War. It was commanded by Arthur Denaro. I think he was a colonel back then. He then became a general. And he was actually recently reunited with the tank. And we took that tank in the Lord Mayor's Parade a few years ago with the original crew in the top of it. And some of you may realise there's a number of tanks we have in the museum where we have a full history. We know the story. Other times, sadly, we're never too sure about the story behind the tank. We may know in the future, more evidence may come to light, but sometimes some of the vehicles we've got here were used as training vehicles here at Bovington, and at the end of their service life, handed over the fence. Other times we've got the full history. Some of those vehicles you're going to see